Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and the Cyber Geeks Alliance has summoned forth a new warlock robot from Unique Toys' magical domain. This is the Grand Wizard Landshark Alberich, second in the Orden series, and possibly the kind of fellow who enjoys a good ripper-snap and snicker-snack of freshly chummed paddywhack on the right day of the week. Alberich turns into a four-legged walking shark thing, and looks a little too much like a shark, to be honest. Basically, his body is too long. He looks fine at some angles, but in profile it just feels like either a stage of compression's gone missing, or his legs are slid too far back. It's a shame, as the sculpt is otherwise what I was hoping to see, all properly robo-shark and vicious looking. On the bright side, the head sculpt friggin' badass times 10. Alberich looks mean, sneering, and proud, like he already ate your dog and is just waiting for the right moment to tell you. His colors directly borrow Troll's purples and purpley blues, but also feature a delightful Arctic semi-white in the majority of the landshark body. As with Troll, this guy's paint apps are clean and pop pretty hardcore. As far as accessories go, there are a pair of twin-barreled rocket lance weapons that can be plugged into Alberich's main fin, forming both a backpack and a miniature turret. Landshark's got limbs, and luckily these limbs are posable, but we're going to start off up here at his head, because he's got this Glasgow smile, and it's partly the seam line of his mouth, because he can sit here and he's all like, but then he can be all like, heh. And then he can be all like, ah! Like, look how wide that opens. Holy crap. He can stick, like, 10 people in there and probably not be able to chew on them. But regardless, he's also got ball joints on his little arms. And unfortunately, the range of those ball joints is about this far out. So it's not a superposable ball joint. It's more a slightly wiggleable swivel. And he's got little elbows. That's about it, though. His hands don't do anything. Down here at his hips, he's got big ratcheting hips to hold up his weight. And they've got to hold up his weight because, like, look how long he is. He has so much forward lean, it's ridiculous. And if those things weren't ratcheted, he'd tip over even more easily than he already does. I really wish that in the transformation, these hips here could end up here. That would fix a whole lot. Unfortunately, you know, not only does he look long, but he balances a little bit overly long as well. But down here we've got a double-jointed knee, which may also be an elbow. This is just a friction joint here, but the other joint is a hard, clicky ratchet. And that helps a lot. If you can, like, compact his legs up properly, you can at least get him in a very solid forward-leaning stance, so that he can at least, like, you know, start to bite people. I forgot to mention his neck also has a little joint here, which accomplishes a whole lot, but I wish it tilted forward even more. Because unfortunately, doing this, once you get him to robot mode, he can't use that head as a Sharkman head, and that's a bummer. His fin can swivel around because these guns up here can, you know, be used like a turret, and that's kind of cool. His tail doesn't really do anything, though. His ankles have got a hinge, actually a double hinge, but the bottom part of the double hinge only goes backwards. What's that for? Well, if you do this, right, get his legs all pointy and stuff, get his arms back and his head forward, he goes from being a land shark to a swimming land shark. I think this is kind of cool. Like, this is not any kind of alternate mode. This is just, like, an aesthetic decision to make sure that him straightening out actually looks kind of cool. And it does. Like, he looks like a giant robot shark now who happens to have legs hanging off the sides. Like, there's even, like, boosters over here, so he's all like, "Fwoosh, I'm a war dick." Zoids reference, only one I've got. Anyway, that's some land shark action. By the way, these things up here, they're very thin. They're attached only by these little thin bits and pieces. And, you know, when you're transforming them, you might want to switch their position around. It's easier just to pull them off and stick them back on, flipped 180. But especially, just don't leave him on there if you think he's going to be put under any distress, because I heard about, I think Maz, who did a TF Source article, had his break in shipping. Those are the only fragile parts of this guy, though. Otherwise, this land shark is a friggin' torpedo. So let's get him transformed. The big trick of Alberich's transformation is doing some clever mass play to go from being a long shark shaft to becoming a robot man wearing a much smaller shark on his back. First, his torso literally inflates, and then his tail accordions up on a thin folding rod that really isn't as scary to handle as it may look. The entire side panels that the legs are connected to pull a ball-jointed flip and swivel to complete the robot torso and unlock the waist joint and robot legs for conversion. Those legs could have done a simple extension or flip down, but instead use a double-jointed Z-fold to maintain Alberich's boxy shins and hold together super securely in either mode. Really, the hardest part of this transformation is getting the robot hands folded out. Their joint is tight, so using the landshark foot as a secondary fulcrum is the way I get them out of there, as it shares an axis with the bot wrists. So, I guess I already said it, but this is totally a Transformers-like robot man that's wearing a shark backpack. Ignoring his carnivorous burden, Alberich's robot mode also more readily reveals the delightful blocks of bold colorwork that adorn his chest and legs, cleanly represented and popping with proper purple punctuality. Because it's always on time. Alberich's got a good head sculpt that borrows its colors from the G1 model, but kinda takes a lot of liberties with the sculpt itself. He doesn't really have a boxy skull, and his eyes aren't really squared off or gogglicious. It still works for me and matches up pretty well with Troll. It's just a little more gaunt than what you might be looking for. Actually, next to Troll, Alberich's basically a slimmer and more average-looking robot biped, as opposed to the powerhouse silhouette of his teammate. They look pretty good together. You can leave Alberich's guns on his back or put them in his hands. How predictable. Sadly, after all the work Troll did to make his combiner foot piece work as weaponry, Alberich does not appear to do a single thing with the Left Hand of Groin, though it's a good enough hand to kinda just grab onto Alberich's forearm as a sort of shield buckler. Hey, it's better than nothing, man. So Alberich's head posability is kind of like there. It mostly swivels left and right. There's not much tilt to be had, so it's... Well, I can do that, but why would you do that? As for his shoulders, these are the landshark hips, so they've got that clickety-click ratchet and all those kind of joints you're looking for, the double-jointed elbow. There's no wrist joint, though, and that kind of bums me out. There is a... Get off him! Get off him! Sorry. There is, like, maybe a reason for it, because the hand is sharing, like, a rotational joint with all this stuff, but... I don't know, man. I wish his wrist swiveled. His waist does swivel, though, so that's a cool thing. It's something he does. His hips have got universal joints and thigh swivels with no ratchets whatsoever. It's all friction. It's all pretty tight, though. Feels fine. His knees are just a simple hinge for a full 90-degree bend. I don't know if... I think that, like, the full 90 bend, you start to lose something because he's got such a big chunk of shin and such a small piece of thigh. Your mileage may vary, but these kind of poses, I think you get the most out of it. And his ankles have got full-on platform tilts, so woo. And then his little heel thingies can wiggle a bit. His toes can wiggle a bit. His feet are super tiltable, so those of you who need ankle tilts, guess what? This will abide by you. His waist has got something hidden inside it for his combination mode, but the upside of that is if you've got it tilted the right way, you can also give him a little bit of a hinging torso movement. I don't know if I'd call it a crunch because no mass is crunching together, which means that this only works from some angles, and if you look at him from the side, it looks just like he's growing something out of his hips. But it's there as an option if you do want to have him bend forward a bit at the torso. You can have it bend backwards too, but then you have to go in and swivel all that stuff around, and I don't think it looks very good bending backwards. So his posability's fine. There's nothing that feels like it's missing other than the wrist swivels, and nothing feels loose. Everything's functional. So good job, Alberich. I do want to take a quick aside to talk a bit about Alberich's arm mode, since he's the first arm of Groin that we're going to be seeing, and he's not bad. There's no real precision to folding up his pair of arms. I found a way that feels like it kind of gels together alright, and I'm happy with it, but like Warbotron's Blastoff, I wish there was some kind of hard lockery in there. Everything else is pretty straightforward, you know, you're folding up legs and sandwiching the Left Hand of Groin, and then you've got this arm here, and it's alright. But here's the part that is friggin' cool. Fap and kablam. This thing has a dedicated, hidden, suck-in-the-gut, triple ratchet elbow joint, and I thought this thing would go about that far when I saw all those great prototype pictures, but here, check it out. Alright, 1, 2, and then it bumps the arms here a bit with this current configuration, but 3. Nearly a 90-degree bend on just that ratcheting arm-elbow joint. Arm-elbow? I'm pretty happy about that. That's really cool. If there's only one problem here, it's that the forearm is way longer than the bicep, and that kind of loses some of the bend. It's similar to when I think a knee is too high up a leg on a figure, but, you know, I'll survive. And I also can flip this door down if you really want me to, and then I could... Look, he's all ready to combine to a figure that doesn't exist yet. The hand is not bad. It's a lot like Feral Rex's hand in that it's just these big, like, meaty stumps, and there's even some spikes up here. But I like how the jointing works. The thumb has got a ball joint connection with a cut allowing it to go up and down like that, or, you know, rotate on the ball joint. But then there is a hinge as well at the end of the stem, so you're not relying on the ball joint for this kind of motion. And there's also a knuckle. And then the fingers have all got a ball joint connection up here, so they can have a bit of spread, if you so choose. And then they've also all got a knuckle. And then the ball joint connection has a cut, allowing for this. They don't have the ball joint and hinge thing at the base of the knuckle like the thumb does. But these hands are not bad. There's one problem with these hands, is that the fingers are all the same length, which means if you don't curl things right, it starts to look really weird because his pinky starts looking bigger than his index finger. I don't know, man. It's odd. But that elbow, I can't get over how much I like that elbow. It reminds me a lot of what I like about the Feral Rex elbow, and I totally mushmouthed a bit there. But showing these things next to each other, I can also give you a look at how these arms are pretty similar in length. But the extending elbow gives this just a bit more length. So I'm expecting that the magic monster man of Groin is going to be around about Feral Rex size. Seems like it. Maybe his arms will be a bit lankier. Who knows? We'll see what happens once everything else comes out. But there's some armage for you. Alberich's a very average transforming landshark man who pulls off one very clever trick in shrinking the silhouette of his alt mode into a backpack, but otherwise it's just kinda there. He's a good and posable robot, has got a goofy if overly elongated landshark mode, and is totally a member of a combiner team. I don't mean to diminish the poor guy, he just isn't the solo standout that Troll was by any means. That said, he's a pretty good member of the Orden team, and is a friggin' fantastic arm. The hidden elbow joint is delightful, and the Left Hand of Groin has got a nice finger joint setup. While Alberich isn't a figure I'd recommend as a purchase for his own qualities alone, he instead gives me a much stronger preview of what lies ahead on the abominable path of dark magic that Unique Toys has undertaken, and I am ready for it, man. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I am chomping at the bit to see what's next in this miniseries. Are we going to take flight, or hunker down and get busy with some double-headed dragon fire?